So existing solar cooking technology, there is 100 different ways you can make a solar cooker. The most prevalent ones are the three ones that we've seen up here. We've also seen a lot of class. So we have the parabolic, the panel, and the box cookers. All work in different ways, all have different advantages and disadvantages. And in terms of cost, from what I have found, kind of the parabolic and the box cookers can be the most expensive, and they can range from like $200 to maybe like $500, $600, depending on what kind of technology is implemented in them. But the panel cooker I found was incredibly cheap. Like the most expensive panel cooker I found was like $50, but it's not anywhere near as effective as the other ones. So yeah, you go next one. There we go. Some other more interesting ones that I found though were also the no-sun evaporating cooker. So what it does is it's a black tube inside of another glass tube with the space in between those is then turned into a vacuum. And then it's basically like a parabolic cooker that then cooks all the food in there. And these can be teeny tiny little ones or gigantic. I saw ones that were, you know, maybe 8 to 10 inches wide and 4 feet long, and they were cooking loaves of bread in it. So it was pretty sweet. And then probably one of the more interesting ones I found was a Fresnel lens cooker. And if you've never heard of a Fresnel lens, it's basically if you took a parabola and flattened it. It has all these little red ridges in it, and it directs all the light into one specific spot. And this one was kind of a strange one. It redirected light into a mirror below it and then directed that light up to the bottom of the pot. And with all of these, you do need a black pot. It needs to be the blackest thing you can find in order to absorb the solar radiation, which we've already covered in class. But next, we're going to go over some of the challenges that are behind this.
So the solar cooking is imperfect. There are some limitations and challenges of the solar systems. And one of them, as much as its main advantage, is the sun. So the solar system runs entirely by sunlight. Just for example, in the winter, the sun is harder to see, or in the cloudy day, this is difficult to make function, to get the function to this device. So because if there's no sun, this is not able to generate energy and to run this operation. So, and the second one is it cannot sustain this heat as the usual stove can. This, oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a minute.
It's not really. Okay.
This one.
Just wait.
No, for some reason it's just being slow.
Yeah. Okay. These two pictures come from 2019 research paper and 2019 research paper, and we can see at the right side, this is an improved solar cooking system, and it is much more different from the Europe. And it has the battery that can do 80% depth of discharge, and they use the battery to make the function, and they call it solar electrical interconnections. However, when we see the data sheet, they use this device to boil. It has almost 45 minutes to boil 1 kilogram water. So to be honest, it's too slow. So,
and this was under sunlight, direct sunlight, in this experiment, or is it just using the heat?
I think they use the sunlight, and they use the battery to heat it.
To help.
To help to heat it, yeah. And the third one is the cost is too high for the product. Okay, and the alternator and the low coster and the machinable materials need to be identified to replace the recent material. And as I do the from this one, that from the research paper, I have shown that they like almost cost $2,500 for design. So in effect, many people, they use solar cookers. They are living in the developing countries. It is hard for them to afford it. And for the usual one, for the usual one, as I searched, it's like the price range is from the $50 to the $700. But I don't believe many people will choose to buy the $50, maybe just have fun and play it. But for the $600 or $1,700 device, it also has some advantages and disadvantages. So I will do that to introduce.
Okay, I will speak about advantage and disadvantage about the solar cooking. I will speak about some of them, not all of them. I will choose four for advantage and four for disadvantage. The advantage cost effectiveness, unlike an LPG-based cooking solution, so which you need to buy, which you need to spend money every time you get every time you get a new cylinder. Unlike a solar cooker, which doesn't require a payment because the science is free for everybody. So it's easy for them to use it. It's environment friendly. Natural gas is a non-renewable energy source. And if you are in hot countries, if you cook inside, if using the normal way to cook inside house, the whole house will be hot. But with the solar cooking product, doesn't produce any gas emissions. 3, the natural state and hygienic cooking. If we use like soaking, the food won't be burned because we're just using the sand. There are nothing under what's the boil or something we cook inside. So will be not anything will be burned inside the pot because the heat will be good to cook the food without interaction with anything. And the 4
uniformity of the heating.
Yes.
It can be good.
Yeah. Yep. And for some countries, they have major problem with power cut. For example, in India, they have really big problem with power cuts. If they use the solar cooker, they won't have any problem with that. Will be easy for them to use it. And for the disadvantage for solar cooker will be useful only for cooking in the daytime. So we can we'll have, for example, we'll have 5, 6, or I'll say 7 hours to cook. After that, will be hard to cook if we pass this time because the sun will be low. And item is when we use the solar cooker, be careful because maybe the reflection of light will damage your eye. So be careful when you use the solar cooker. Third, require backup. It is impossible to complete depending on the solar cooker. It's really hard to depend on because we don't know what will happen with the weather at the same time. So it will be really hard to depend on just solar cooker. Less efficient. Solar cooker take a long time to cook your lunch or something. If we want to compare it to a normal way to cook. And that's it. If you have any question?
Is there one more? Yes. Yes. You're gonna use my laptop or?
No, ours.
It just, share with me. Oh, you wanna go? You can just share your